Okay, that is a 1/2 inch conduit 90-degree corner. And it looks like this out of the wrapper. Get 2 of those, and then you can simply put one in this corner, one in this corner, have your other 6-foot piece coming down here, and then all you need to do is get it to stand up, and that's the easiest part of all. Go to the lumber department or the construction materials department where they have the cement, the bags of cement and the cement blocks, and get a piece of rebar. They're already cut. This is 16 inches long. Get 2 pieces like this, and just go to the corner of your box, take a hammer, pound it halfway into the ground. Do the same in the other corner, and this simply will strip right over this. This is 1/2 inch on the inside, this is 1/2 inch on the outside. They're like made to go together. So this will simply fit right there, and it's very sturdy. Now you've got the frame, but you don't have the webbing or the strings that go back and forth. We have a very handy product here called trellis netting, and that's what it's for. You can plant cantaloupe and have it climb up this netting, and it will hold it. So you can plant all kinds of things on here, and I've got one already set up in ours over here, and I'll show you that in just a couple of minutes, and then we'll be done. Okay, I'd like to read one more thing from this book, and then we're going to be finished. And I know some of you are thinking, you could have finished a half hour ago. Oh yes, he's a teacher. They never stop talking. I see. Okay, well, I'm not a teacher anymore, but I probably always will be to some extent. Let me read to you what the author says could be a typical garden. Now, this really is only a spring garden. Look at the plants that are going to be named here. Listen to the names of the plants, and you'll discover, well, I don't see beans, I don't see corn, I don't see the normal summer crops, the tomatoes. That's because this is your early garden. When these are all gone, then you got all those to come up yet. But this is what you could put in 1 4x4 square foot garden. It's still springtime, so we might have pansies in each of the front 2 corners. You can put 4 pansies in each square foot. Or if it's later in the year, in the summer, you could pull those and put vincas in the corner. Let's plant 2 different squares of carrots, and let's put them in the center. Since it takes them a long time to grow and we're not going to mess with them, we don't put them around the outside edges. Let's have 1 square of 16 onions. Let's have a square of 16 radishes. How about 1 square of 9 beets in one of the outside squares, because we're going to go along and every so often we're going to cut off 1 leaf from each plant and put it in our salad. You've got 16 of them. You can pull off 16 leaves every so often, snip them off with your scissors, drop it in a salad. It's not going to affect that plant. It'll grow a new one, and you're still going to get the beet. You're still going to get the red beet. Then let's plant 2 or 3 varieties of leaf lettuce along the outside, because we'll be snipping that occasionally. In another square, we could put 16 chives, 4 parsley plants in another one, a square of red salvia, those are flowers, along the back, and perhaps 1 square in a corner of some dwarf dahlias, 1 in a square foot, and maybe 1 or 2 squares of spinach, 9 plants in 1 square foot, and maybe 1 or more squares from the cabbage family. Maybe that would be green cabbage or broccoli or cauliflower, only 1 per square. Now, if you decide that you want to start doing this and you have the book, there's a very, very good index in the back which will give pretty much all of the information you need on these 2 pages. It'll tell you the name of the vegetable or the flower or the herb, that's all on here, how many to plant in each square, the approximate time of the year to plant it. Now if you want more detail, then you just go to the back of the book, and there you've got pictures of all the vegetables. Even after you read this cover to cover, this back section is what you'll refer to over and over and over. Now, to give you an idea of what the trellis that I was just talking about might look like, let me show you a picture, although it's a drawing, of how the 12-inch square will hold the plant roots, and then it goes up in the air from there. Now, an interesting thing about this is you can't have your plants in a 12-foot space, then go up on the trellis and then spread out every which place. If it's in a 12-inch space in the ground, you have to keep it 12 inches wide going all the way up the trellis. Now that means if your tomato wants to send out those side shoots, you know what? You get the scissors and you clip it off. Some of your vining plants like melons and cucumbers will have great big leaves. What if one of those is in the space of another plant that's coming up? Cut it in half. Literally take your scissors and cut that leaf right in half. That won't hurt anything, and it's still got 50% of the leaf for manufacturing food, you know, photosynthesis. So it's still going to be okay. Just don't let it go crazy. What happens when your plant gets to the very top? Now what? You can make a choice. Let it hang over the edge, like I did with my tomatoes last year with this. Just let them droop over and flop if you want to. Or cut them off. Just take a scissors and cut it off. But I won't get near as many tomatoes. Remember, you don't have much space. Of course you're not going to get as many tomatoes. You can't grow many. Your yard's too small. So that's the idea. All right, do you have any questions about anything? I do have a supply of books. They are on this chair right here. If you're interested in buying any, I have other gardening books. This is an excellent one just for South Carolina on growing all kinds of vegetables and herbs and fruit trees are all included in this book. This is called A Month by Month Gardening in the Carolinas for both North and South Carolina, and it will tell you things that you might want to do or think about 12 months of the year for lawn care, growing bulbs, growing herbs, growing trees, growing shrubs, growing vegetables, on and on, water gardening, roses, perennials, vines and ground covers. What do you do in January for those? It tells you what you might want to be thinking about. When do you fertilize and so on? So this is a very good book for the Carolinas. Most of the illustrations had to do with North Carolina, however. This one, strictly South Carolina. It's even in the title. So that's very good. Everything that I talked about the last 45 minutes here, you'll find in this book, plus a whole lot more.